What's up guys, TheDevildogGamer here, and we are back with some more 6 Days in Fallujah news. If you remember a few months ago, I took some questions for you guys about 6 Days of Fallujah to give to the CEO of Victura, Peter Tamte, to answer about the game. And, you know, with chaos of life and everything like that, kind of got a little bit behind on that. But we have a lot of the answers to the questions that you guys asked. I picked out a lot of questions that I saw repeats of or I thought were good questions, and he answered them with some really awesome answers, and I think a lot of you guys are really going to enjoy what he had to say. So let's start it off with the first one. So the first one is, will you be able to choose a loadout in varying levels of customization, or will this be more assigned combat roles and equipment depending on your position in the squad or platoon? And Peter had to say this about it. This varies by game mode. In the Marine Fireteam mode, each player is assigned specific USMC equipment based on their fireteam role, while other modes give players more flexibility. The next question was, how extensive will the single player be? Can you command bots? Can you create your own missions? And this is what Peter had to say. Yes, players will be able to command AI team members in the single-player campaign, and it is a full-fledged story campaign. Players issue orders to the teams through a unique Go command, which let players issue orders simply by aiming and pushing a Go button. Then the game figures out a correct order based on what you're pointing at. This system makes it as easy to direct your team as it is to fire your weapon, and opens up many authentic tactical options for players. For example, with the Go command, players can order their team to suppress a target while the player flanks. They can order their team to stack on a door and then breach with overwhelming force. They can also set up ambushes and channel enemies into a kill zone. The next question was, will this game have some form of co-op or PvP, or is it strictly single player with AI? Peter said there will be both multiplayer and single player modes. The initial focus of our multiplayer modes will be on co-op. The next question was, will there be mod support? And Peter had this to say, not initially. Keep in mind that a central feature of 6 Days in Fallujah is our procedural architecture system, which automatically reshapes the physical architecture inside and outside each building each time the game is played. The next question was, with the next generation of consoles being out, did they anticipate a release of a version of the game for Xbox or PlayStation? And Peter had this to say, yes, we anticipate releasing the game on the newest generation of consoles, as well as the previous generation and PC. The next question is, will we get to play as SEALs or Army with different weapons and SOPs and equipment, like door knockers, flashbangs, M14s, a mix of Alice gear, and the hodgepodge of new gear and old gear? Even going back to Humvees to resupply would be cool. And Peter said, yes, there are missions where you are not a US Marine and you will have the appropriate equipment options based on these services. We'll be talking more about this in detail later. The next question is, will there be side missions? Example, link up with a pinned down squad or assist with covering a convoy in the area you are in, etc. And Peter said, yes, there will be a wide variety of primary and secondary objectives. The next question is, what will be the consequences of significantly deviating from each soldier's story? If the player hurts or kills a civilian, does that trigger a fail state? And Peter had this to say, shooting at civilians does create failure states. While players are not required to follow each Marine's or soldier's story precisely, they do have to complete the same objectives to complete the mission. 6 Days handles stories very differently than most games, in that our story missions are not linear scripts. They're sandboxes. Each mission begins with the game setting up the situation as it existed during the real battle, and then players are charged with solving the same challenge using their own skills and choices. The next question is, will there be drivable vehicles? And if so, what can we expect? Just Humvees and transports? Or is there a chance we might see some armor and aircraft? And this is what Peter had to say. Initially, the vehicles in the game will be controlled by AI. This could change in future versions. The next question is, will there be a realistic body armor system? And the answer is kind of. We're not doing much with location-based damage, but we are handling health differently than most shooters. We'll get into this in more detail in the future. The next question is, will there be advanced ragdoll physics and dismemberment? And the answer is, we do use advanced ragdoll physics, but we do not have dismemberment. While 6 Days in Fallujah doesn't shy away from many realities of combat, we're not also trying to push the envelope with gore. The next question is there any air support in the game? And the answer is, air support plays an important role in the single-player campaign than multiplayer right now. Helicopters were definitely used during the battle, but since they're so vulnerable in dense urban areas, the most commonly used air support came from AC-130 gunships, but these were highly targeted. Also keep in mind that 6 Days focuses on fireteam operations right now, and these units did not have direct access to battalion or division assets, except in some specific instances. Yes, there were exceptions that we hope to incorporate in the game in a realistic way. The next question is, will there be hearing loss effect from firing guns indoors for too long? And the answer is players will experience hearing loss on a temporary basis based on a variety of noises and volume. The next question is, will there be any sort of med system, like applying tourniquets, bandages, etc.? And the answer is yes, this game allows for both self-aid and buddy aid, and bandaging wounds is essential. Well guys, those were the questions that you asked about 6 Days in Fallujah. Honestly, I'm still super excited for this game. I mean, the procedural generation alone is mega awesome for me. If any of you play games like Ready or Not, you know, after like 3 or 4 times on a map, you already have it memorized, a majority of like what room looks like on behind each door. And with the procedural generation here in 6 Days in Fallujah, it makes it more realistic that each room you enter, you have no fucking idea what it looks like. When I was in Iraq, we don't have mirrors or cameras or any of that shit or any intel on what the rooms looked like or the layout of the house or anything. You just went in and you did it. And I'm really excited to kind of see how this plays out in a video game sense, and how, you know, mil sims or, you know, co-op, kind of the tactical group really kind of pushes towards this game, and see kind of like what kind of experiences people have with it. Because combat is chaos, and without knowing anything ahead of time, you're gonna get a lot of chaos. This game is really looking to push what, you know, people know about the experience of Fallujah and the war on terrorism and, you know, Iraqi freedom. It gets down to the nitty and the gritty of it, and that's what I like the most about it. It doesn't sugarcoat things, shows you how quickly your life could end if you made the wrong choice in some of these buildings. I mean, like, the fact that you walk out of a building after being in these dark rooms for a couple of minutes, and then you can't even see outside when you walk outside, but you might take fire, and then you have to react to it with your eyes still adjusting. I mean, the possibilities of this game are endless, and I really am looking forward to, like, just getting to play the game. The fact that this game is going to have a co-op aspect to it with the procedural generation, I could see a lot of milsim guys really getting into this, because every experience will be completely different each and every single time. And with modding support coming in the future, I could honestly see just people, you know, milsimming different organizations, different groups, you know, the Brits, you know, the Germans, stuff like that. You know, have your KSK guys with their weapons and things like that. The possibilities with this are endless. The base game itself is going to be so awesome that no matter what you do to the mods, they're always going to be good, because the base game itself is so awesome. I'm really looking forward to this. I think this is going to be really amazing, and honestly, I'm going to have tons of beer on hand when I play this, because it's probably going to freaking make me have a panic attack playing it. That's how faithful I think they're going. But I'm really looking forward to this. I hope you guys are too, because the second it becomes available to play, I'm going to spam this channel with as many videos of it as possible, because it's just absolutely amazing. I think it's just a really cool game, and I'm glad it's back. I was kind of sad when they decided to pull the plug on it, and I'm glad that from the ashes it's rising again. Well, anyways, boys, if you have questions, comments, concerns, leave them down in the comments below. Talk to you guys later. Peace.